All right, Steve, we're back for episode 3.
Episode 3.
So we've had the story of Steve. We have had the story of Dave, kind of focused on the law enforcement side. Today we have former wing commander. We're going to have, again, not to give anything away, but another very riveting story. Different than the last episode, but I would say just as exciting and TV worthy, if you will. I think I said that at the end of Dave's episode.
Before we get rolling on that, though, I would like to introduce...
the unnamed, that's right, we have our unnamed editor here, who now has a name.
So, Brady, welcome. Introduce
Thanks,
yourself.
Steve. I'm Brady Brecht. I edit and work on some of these episodes. I'm a film student over here at UMKC, just looking for something to spend my summer doing and hopefully develop, good relationship with these guys working on this podcast.
Well, welcome to the family. He's been working on episode 5, and then we're going to do some short reels and get that out because doing the research on that, apparently that is a huge thing.
Yep, Instagram is a very valuable way to get it all out. TikTok, YouTube, with people's attention spans shortening. Everybody just wants to see, 30, 60-second stuff, but it'll be a great way to get this podcast out to more people.
Now, did you say Scram? Was that the first one?
Instagram.
Okay, Graham. Okay, I used that. I was going to say I used all of those, but I hadn't heard of Scram. But
did you call it Scram or did it?
I didn't think I did, but I'm on low sleep. I might have.
Well, we got Scooter coming up. Unfortunately, I decided not to use my call sign.
I was actually going to bring that up to you, Steve. I've listened to the episode, and I had teased that we were going to actually hear your call sign, and you cut it.
I had to, and the only reason being is because it's probably trademarked with Paramount or whatever movie company that put that movie out. So Scuba, and then my first name, and I just didn't want to get a letter at the door one day.
Scuba?
Yep, Scuba Steve.
Scuba Steve. All right, so now we've officially announced the call sign here, although we didn't get it from Scooter, but we'll go forward. Steve, I'd say let's dive into this story with Scooter. It is it's riveting. I think people are going to really enjoy it.
I think so too. It's another one of those good feel-good stories, and at the end of the day, it could have been bad, but not that day. All right, so Scooter.
Freedom, American lager. Raise a glass to freedom. Call sign Brewing Company, North Kansas City, Missouri.
Every pilot knows that someday something unexpected is going to happen. The question is whether your training, your crew, and your mindset are enough to get everybody home. My guest today is Col Barrett, Scooter Golden. He's flown combat missions around the world, graduated from the Air Force Weapons School, and today commands the 139th Airlift Wing, St. Joseph, Missouri. But before any of that, he found himself facing every pilot's worst nightmare. During what started as a routine training mission, a catastrophic landing gear failure forced Scooter and his crew to prepare for a crash landing. What happened over the next few hours is a remarkable story of professionalism, teamwork, and calm under extraordinary pressure. Here's my conversation with Col Barrett Golden. Scooter. Colonel, it's been a while.
Hey, Steve. Absolutely. Great to see you.
It's good to see you too. It's kind of cool that you're on the show. And
Absolutely.
We had Dave on the show. He was first episode, and you're
another
second.
legend.
Yep. And here's a legend. And with that being said, we'd like to talk about some PTSD stories, some survival stories, and we also like to have good hero stories or good survival stories of something just that feels good. It's like you saved the day. And,
maybe, yeah. Blessed.
I don't think there's a lot of maybe about it. I mean, I guess we'll get to that, but people are going to want to know, hey, who is Colonel? Who's this guy?
Sure. A little background, Steve. Born and raised in Southern California, but I grew up in the high desert, Apple Valley, California. Normal middle class upbringing, I'd say. Interestingly enough, though, in the high desert, it's a close proximity to George Air Force Base, which is no longer open. Also close proximity to Palmdale, and a lot of historical flight test types of things going on there. But as a child growing up, I had some buddies whose dads were F-4 pilots, F-16 pilots, and I think that's where the aviation spark kind of intrigued me. But interestingly enough, like I said, I felt like that mediocre kid growing up and did all the normal stuff, football, baseball, ran track. And then when it came time to get ready to go to college, all my friends were going to the University of Arizona. Aviation at the time, it was a fascination, but it hadn't sparked the fire yet. I still was just one of those trying to figure out what I want to do in my life. Again, all my buddies were going to University of Arizona, and so I applied and was just going to follow suit with the pack and do that.
What year was this?
It was, I graduated in 1995 in high school.
95.
Yes,
I
sir.
am older than you. Wow. You know you're getting old when, you're, well, I mean, I served under you. But, wow, okay, yeah, thanks for putting that perspective in my
I
head.
apologize. It happens sometimes, right?
It does.
Yeah. So on my way to University of Arizona, interesting thing happened to me. Sometimes you hit a fork in the road, and sometimes you hit something that is not a desire of yours, or something, unfortunate situation that turned out to be an amazing blessing. My sister got severely sick and had to go into the hospital that summer, and my dad was self-employed. His insurance situation with medical insurance was very challenging, and so it was very expensive for them to endure some of these medical bills that my sister was incurring. And so sadly enough, my parents came to me and said, son, we can no longer afford to send you to University of Arizona.
Ooh.
And so you have to go to the local junior college, Victor Valley College.
Oh, man.
And, that was devastating for me, watching my friends all go off on their path. And, I'm in the high desert. We call it Tumbleweed Tech, which is said junior college, right? But I'll go back to, that to me at the time was a devastating situation, but it set the fork in the road for me to finally, eventually pursue my dream, which was aviation.
You brought up knowing F-4 pilots and F-16 pilots out of George Air Force Base.
Right.
Which, I think closed in 92 or 93, if I remember correctly.
Or right around there, I think so, yeah.
The Wild Weasel Base.
Yep, Wild Weasels, yep.
Superior mission. It was too bad that they closed that base down. I mean, I thought that it was a pretty cool mission.
Absolutely.
You winded up going to the Tumbleweed College.
Tumbleweed Tech, that's it, babe.
Tumbleweed Tech.
Yeah, yeah.
But at least you managed.
Yeah.
I mean, look at you now.
It's worked out,
But like you said, it's one of those unfortunate events that turned great. Which, believe it or not, that happens to a lot of people where it's like, oh man, this unfortunate thing happened. This sucks.
Right.
And then their life ends up being possibly better. I mean, you never know, but
yeah,
still good things happen in their life throughout that
Correct.
endeavor.
It did, and honestly, I talk about how it was kind of a bottom in my life. I was depressed. All my friends were gone. I was working construction, working as a prep cook, going to college, but I was taking courses I cared nothing about. To the point where I was getting straight C's, 2.0 GPA, like nothing was working out.
So for the record, pilots normally go through basket weaving to get their degree, right?
Yeah, you could say that for sure. No, not at all. Right?
Not at all. Okay.
Not at all. They want to see you have those engineering type degrees and aviation related type degrees and
Right.
stuff. But when I hit that bottom, I said, you know what, dude, I'm going to fix my life. I'm going to figure this out. And I went to the Career Center at that college, Tumbleweed Tech. Not to be denigrating to it all. Victor Valley College is a great organization, but that's what we called it at the time, so I'm being factual.
Yeah.
And I went to the Career Center, and I started looking around the Career Center books, and I just kept climbing onto the aviation section. And I started dedicating myself to reading and reviewing some of those aviation books, and I just finally said, I'm tired of living like this, I don't like this, and I want to chase my dream and become a pilot. And that's when I convinced my father to allow me to try and get my private pilot's license. If I could prove that aptitude to at least get my parents would support me in pursuing my aviation career.
So what did Dad have to say?
Well, son, you got straight C's and a 2.0 GPA. Are you sure we're going to be able to pay all this money to send you to college? And I was like, well, Dad, let me prove to you that I have the aptitude to get that private pilot's license and we'll go from there. I'm gonna assure you I'm gonna work this out.
Nice. So you actually negotiated with your father.
I did. Yeah.
As what, a 19-year-old?
Yeah, interesting. I graduated at 17, so I was about 18. Yep.
Okay. Well, wow. That's even more impressive.
Basically, my freshman year of college, on into my junior year in college, I got my private pilot's license at Old George Air Force Base. It's now Southern California International Airport. Got my private pilot's license, proved to my father I had that aptitude to do that, and I applied to Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Prescott, Arizona, was accepted, and eventually ended up going to college there to continue to pursue my aviation passion.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Nothing was going to hold you down.
Not at that point, the outcome was still undetermined. Back in my mind, I was still, really intrigued with that Air Force thing, remembering my buddy's dads flying F-4s and F-15s and just screaming around the desert. Again, I still didn't think I had the aptitude. Might have thought about maybe just doing the civilian path. But I ended up joining Air Force ROTC. Again, didn't quite have those entry grades that I talked about to get that scholarship. And Embry-Riddle wanted me to have an electrical engineering or aeronautical engineering type of degree to offer a potential scholarship. And I just didn't think I had the aptitude to do it. And so back to talking about forks in the road, my sophomore year at Embry-Riddle, I came home for a Christmas break, and that's where I was introduced to the Air National Guard.
So you're probably talking about Channel Islands, right?
Interestingly enough, March.
Really?
So
okay.
I came home from a Christmas break, and one of my buddy's dad, who lived in Apple Valley, was a March, at the time they had tankers, and he was an Air National Guardsman at the March base, and he told me all things about the Air National Guard, and I found that absolutely fascinating. In turn, I went back after Christmas break and resigned from ROTC and knew that I wanted to take the path and try and pursue the Air National Guard as a sophomore in college at Embry-Riddle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And at the time, March probably had KC-135s and C-141s at the time.
That rings a bell, yeah.
Because there's also a reserve side of March.
Correct, yeah, right, absolutely, yeah.
Man, that's a hell of a leap forward. Or a leap of fate, really.
Right.
How'd your dad feel?
I think they were excited, but still pretty apprehensive. I think the path was still perhaps civil aviation.
Right.
And then, son, chasing that dream to be an Air Force pilot. In my mind, I still had this thing that you had to be a valedictorian of your high school. You had to be that electrical engineer, as ROTC kept telling me, or aeronautical engineer that they kept telling me, So it was always in my mind, and I honestly got towards the end of Embry-Riddle and graduating before I made the jump into actually joining the Air National Guard.
Sure.
So that's when I joined, and my buddy's dad at March told me to rush the fraternity or sorority, check out other units. And to your point, if you've ever been to Riverside, California, or Ventura County, California, one is a little bit more preferred than the other. No offense to March Guard Base at all, but
right.
The Channel Islands Guard is literally on the beach in Ventura County, and so
and
I
who doesn't
pursued
like the beach?
Right, absolutely. Yeah, so ended up pursuing Channel Islands Air National Guard unit. Told them I wanted to be a pilot there. They said, you know what? Kind of our business model is you need to be a member of this unit. If you're going to be in the Guard, unlike active duty where they move you around every 2 to 3 years, you could be at the Guard or at a reserve unit for 20 plus years. And they said, you need to be a member of this unit, rush the fraternity or sorority for our female types, before we're going to pick you as a pilot. And I said, okay, well, I'm a college graduate, where's your officer jobs? And they're like, yeah, we don't got any of those. Okay, well, you told me I still need to join the unit, sign me up. And they're like, okay, we have this enlisted command post position that's in ops, so you might be able to rush the fraternity and still get to know ops guys. So I said, sign me up. And so literally a few weeks after I graduated college, I enlisted as a command post controller, and the summer after graduating college, I was off to Air Force basic training. Yeah.
See, I never knew that about you. I did not know that you were an enlisted guy.
Yeah, right.
Good for you.
Absolutely. Don't regret it.
No, well, you still remember the secret handshake, right?
We can try it. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
How long did it take for you to be there before you went off to pilot training?
So enlisted in June of 1999, and then I ended up meeting a board, and I think my second board, pilot selection board, I got picked up. And so through that process, I ended up going to Air Force pilot training classes 0210, so 2002, the 10th class at Columbus Air Force Base, Mississippi. So
Wow.
worked
Okay.
out.
It did work out.
Yes, sir. You know, I had the opportunity to go to Air Force pilot training, flew the 237. Interestingly enough, as a hurt guy, I was supposed to go to Corpus Christi and fly the King Air version in pilot training at the Navy. And the guard bearer called one day and said, "Do you want to fly a T-38? We have a backup at Corpus Christi." And I said, "Absolutely." And so not a lot of hurt guys get that opportunity to get fighter qualified and fly the 38, and I did, and broke the sound barrier and got to get so high to actually see the curvature of the Earth. And I'll tell you, my flat earthers, the world is round. I've seen it.
They will rebuttal that 100% of the time.
I
though.
know.
But what are you going to do?
Allowed, right. But interestingly enough, in pilot training too, 9/11 happened.
Oh.
I was literally in academics in T-37s and 9/11 occurred. So the days of going to Channel Islands and thinking about flying to Hawaii every weekend and having a great time and doing all these fun things and building hours and eventually maybe getting that great job down the road, that whole thing changed.
Well, I think after 9/11, everything changed for a lot of people.
It did.
I mean, that was the end of the world as we knew it. And just think that was 25 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Time flies.
It does. Seems like yesterday.
Yeah, actually it does.
Yeah.
So you graduated on the T-38s.
Yeah.
And then probably went off to Little Rock.
Yep.
Fly the old E model.
Right. Interestingly enough, our base was acquired the new C-130J model aircraft in 2004. So I only flew the E model for about 700 hours, and we got the brand new C-130Js. We were some of the first ones in the Guard to get those, and so switched up from the Ford F-150 to a Porsche 911. That was kind of a good deal.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
And were they the stubbies or the extended fuselage?
The stretch.
Oh, the
Yep.
stretch, okay.
The Dash 30, C-130J Dash 30s. Yep.
So being that you're on a somewhat new airplane, which brings us to this conversation about a hero story.
Right.
So people think a new airplane shouldn't have many maintenance issues, but that's like furthest from the truth, because you always have gremlins in a brand new airplane that you got to work out. Typically an airplane, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but being a former flight engineer, a retired flight engineer, whenever you get a brand new airplane on the line, it's you got to work some bugs out before it functions the way it needs to function.
Sure.
But you had a bigger issue, didn't you?
I did. Absolutely. You know, so we got J models in 2004, and my catastrophic issue happened in 2011. So these aircraft had some hours on them. They've obviously gone through PDMs, depot level maintenance type stuff, HSC, which are, forgive my acronyms, but they're basically required maintenance intervals to continue to check these aircraft, change out certain parts here and there. Let me tee it up a little bit.
Okay.
Gone to war probably at this time 6 different times, from 2003 to 2010. Had the opportunity to go to U.S. Air Force Weapons School as an instructor. For those that don't know, Weapons Instructor course is the graduate level 6-month PhD program. It's the Air Force's version of the Top Gun. While we don't have that kinetic capability to launch missiles at people, we have that ability to become that subject matter expert in all tactics, techniques, and procedures, and to survive in contested environments, right?
Sure.
So I've been to war, became an instructor, went to the WIC. I was on top of my world. I was complacent. I thought I was bulletproof. Been shot at in Baghdad. Seen some fire in Bagram, Afghanistan. Deployed to Bagram, Afghanistan, and endured numerous rocket attacks while boots on the ground there. I was unstoppable. And so had a unique opportunity in April of 2011 to take some Channel Islands birds to go to Colorado Springs, Colorado. Because I was a weapons school guy, I had connections with the weapons school folks, and I said, hey, can we bring some bros out and come fly with y'all? And absolutely, we'd love that integration, and we'd love you to come fly with us and do some things. And so today, the day in April 2011 was Red Devil Dirt Strip Day, and I was super excited.
Devil. Yep. So
Yeah.
I've landed there several times myself.
Yeah,
It's probably one of the neatest things that you could do on the C-130.
it is.
Pucker factor, adrenaline's going through your body.
Yeah.
It's good times.
It's the highest It's the highest in elevation dirt strip in the continental United States, so that tells me there might be one higher in Alaska. And to your point, it's in a bowl. Creates some significant challenges to get into, and yeah, absolutely, you're max performing your aircraft to get in and get out. And
You're seriously gnat's assing, especially as, well, you guys did not have flight engineers, but you're gnat's assing those numbers for your takeoff and landing data.
absolutely, yeah,
Because you can't miscalculate that. That's deadly.
absolutely, agree. Sadly, they've bent some metal there semi-recently, so proving some of that situation. Thankfully, everybody survived that one. But Red Devil Day, I had a brand new lieutenant, semi-new back from co-pilot school, and I had a major who was a former Viper driver, decided to join the Guard, get off active duty and join the Guard. So I had two brand new kids, one experienced aviator, which was awesome, and then a brand new lieutenant. And so we had on out, we hit Red Devil Dirt Strip, and interestingly enough, at this point in time, the Air Force let new kids fly in the left seat, do assaults from the left seat and things like that. So we threw the LT in the left seat, I was in the right seat as the instructor, and we set up a base, and we came in and we landed on Red Devil Dirt Strip. Not bad. Semi-firm landing is what I would say, but at the same time, when you're going to a dirt strip and you're going to something that's kind of short, I don't want a greased-on flare where all the inertia is going this way. I want a little bit of firmness to where you put a little bit of the energy into the ground to help you get started or stopped, excuse me, and things like that. So,
And the C-130 can take a pounding like that easily.
absolutely can. And interestingly enough, is the data capability on the J model will tell you what you landed at in VVI and feet per minute, and it will tell you if you exceeded some certain things. And so it was a firm landing, but it wasn't a hard landing because the card came back and said it wasn't a hard landing.
Good.
But so we went to the end of the overrun on the other end of the dirt strip, did a 180, set our flaps 50, got ready to take off. We're going to go do another one. And so we took off, brought the gear handle up, the 3 green lights, which indicate my gear is down. The 3 green lights went out. Fat, dumb, and happy. Let's go do another one of these landings. How awesome is this? There was a ground force on the ground from the Kentucky Air National Guard STS guys, and they were helping control the airspace, doing some training for themselves, simulating if they were in an austere environment, controlling flow into a dirt strip somewhere in a contested environment, right? They call us on the radio and they say, hey, I'm going to go with our call sign was Ocean, and Ocean 11. We'll go with that. Ocean 11. I like it. Your gear is 90 degrees to the axis that it should be. I'm like, no, it's not. My lights are out. We're good to go. And they're like, no, your gear is 90 degrees to the axis it should be. And I said, describe that to me. And they said, you literally have a tire hanging off your aircraft that is 90 degrees, not proper. It's this way versus this way. Still didn't believe him. Gear indications are up. I said, all right, I'm going to fly by you really slow and low. You tell me that one more time. Fly by real low and slow. And they're like, not lying. Still gear 90 degrees to the axis it should be.
Wow.
So back in your mind's like, still kind of disbelief, right? Thankfully, there's other channel islands, bird running around. There's wick birds running around. We're all in a pattern. And I get Ocean 12. My J model channel islands buddy said, hey, dude, join up on my wing. Confirm what's going on. They join up on the wing. Technology is amazing. iPhones are out. Before you know it, I got a text picture of literally a gear that's hanging out of the back of my aircraft that is 90 degrees to the axis it should be, but the gear door is shut, and so I don't know what's going on, but I have something catastrophic going on with my airplane.
Right.
Yeah.
You go from like flying, fat, dumb, and happy to, all right, we've got a problem.
Yeah.
Cockpit probably went completely quiet.
Yeah.
All right, now what's up? What do we do? Where are we going from here?
So talk about the complete paradigm of emotions. When I got a picture of that aircraft and the gear absolutely hanging out of the gear door, absolute terror came over my mind. Uncontrollable shaking, absolute fear, all the things you could imagine that you're like, stop, but it's just the body's taking over and the terror's taking over and you're just shaking, and you got to take a couple breaths and get control. In aviation we talk about aviate, navigate, communicate. You get things under control, you start calming down, okay, let's start thinking about the problem. And then at that point in time, my Ocean 12, my wingman was like, yeah, this is a significant issue. We need to do something. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to do an emergency landing at Red Devil Dirt Strip. We originated out of Colorado Springs, and so it's like, okay, let's start cruising back to cruising back to Colorado Springs and start working a plan. This is the point in time where, as an aviator, you know, Steve, we have an emergency checklist, and a lot of these emergency checklists are written in blood. People have died, and now they have policies and procedures in our emergency checklist, right?
Right.
There's no gear falling off checklist. So we knew this is unprecedented.
Until you made one.
I'm still not sure there's a checklist, right? We still need to work on that, work with Stanival. But so we're cruising back. Interestingly enough, a man I really respected was the 29th Weapons Squadron commander. His name was Stephen Haji. He calls me on the phone, or calls me on the radio, and he hears what's going on. And there's like little small puzzle pieces to this entire thing that make this successful. And he goes, Scooter, in a very firm and commanding voice. And I said, yes, Haji. He's like, you're going to crash an airplane today. Yes, sir, I am. Open every escape hatch you have, because that airplane's going to twist. And if you're on fire, you're not going to be able to open that sucker up. Open everything you got and get the hell out of the airplane, because you're crashing an airplane today. Chills right now thinking about that, right? Okay, I'm going to go crash an airplane. Start heading back to Colorado Springs. Before
you go back to Colorado Springs,
sure.
So after you got that news, I mean, I bet you looked around, everybody was like as white as a ghost.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, the chills that just ran through my body is probably something that I've lived in that moment of just reality that we're going to go crash an airplane. We don't have a checklist procedure for it. The sheer terror and the shaking uncontrollably is gone, but it's now Air Force training. Let's go, hack a mission, and solve an incredible problem. And that was the mindset, but it was looking around like, okay, you don't look scared, I don't look scared, you don't look scared, let's go. Let's do this together, and let's head back to Colorado Springs. So there's some weapons school kids, cadre at Colorado Springs. You know, they're out flying, but there's some other cadre there. And Lieutenant Colonel Dan Santoro, one of my buddies, I text him and I was like, hey bro, I need you in the tower right now. There's policies and procedures that we've always been trained to where you can get what's called a conference skyhook.
Yep.
And so you can get the manufacturer of your aircraft on board online to help you out.
Yep, so that's pretty much like Lockheed for this example.
Right.
When you have such a catastrophic failure like what you had,
right,
a technician from them to try and help you decide.
Yes.
Essentially.
Exactly. And it's kind of funny because we called the command post and said, request conference skyhook, and they said, what's that?
Oh, no.
And so that's when I got Danny Santoro. I said, bro, I sent him a text of that picture, and I said, I need your help. I need you to get up in the control tower now, and I need you to get Lockheed Martin on the phone. On it, bro. That's all I had to hear. And so...
and at this time, so you're burning fuel. So how much gas did you have left? What amount of playtime did you have?
I think initial calculations is, great point, is we knew we were going to crash land an airplane. We knew we were bags of gas, and bags of gas is fire. And so airplane's operating okay right now, so we knew we had potentially hours to orbit and come up with a plan. So that maybe that's what gave us some peace,
right,
in the situation. And so I think computations were 3 to 4 hours was a plan.
Which is plenty of time to get together a game plan.
It is.
Get Lockheed on the phone.
Correct. Yep, do all that. It did not turn out to be that way, but we'll get there in a minute. So set up in high orbit in Colorado Springs. It's an international airport. Airliners are coming in left and right, and we're up in a high orbit. Interestingly enough, everyone thinks Colorado mountains, but in our high orbit, we were out to the east, and it's very flat. And that was our idea, to set up a high orbit out to the flat areas to where, God forbid, this gear fell off, we were going to have collateral damage and kill a farmer, kill somebody, something like that. So Lockheed Martin convenes a war room. Their chief pilot, all their engineers literally get into a crisis action team type of environment, and we're on the phone. And we're like, okay, what's the plan? Do I land this belly up with this little dangler just hanging off my aircraft? Or do we drop the gear and try and land it in that configuration? Lots of discussion about what to do. Eventually, Lockheed Martin said, we'd like you to drop the gear, try and use the gear's integrity. This thing's hanging off your aircraft, but we'd like you to still try and do that. So, okay, if that's the case, I'm gonna drop my gear right now so we really see what we have. And so we flew over to a non-congested area and I dropped my gear. And what we thought was my right rear gear was broken was actually my right front gear. It literally had catastrophically separated from the aircraft and was hanging from a torsion bar many, many feet down, maybe 10 feet down from my airplane.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like a lollipop just dangling there.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Which kind of complicates things because now that torsion gear or that strut is probably going to twist the other tire.
To your point, we had 3 to 4 hours of gas, and then my Ocean 12 bros were like, dude, that thing is castering so bad in the wind flow, I'm so scared it's going to rip off your airplane and cause you severely more damage to yourself or potentially, again, kill somebody on the ground.
Ooh.
So at that point in time, plan A of burning all the gas, the fiery stuff, was done. It was, let's go get this down on the ground as soon as possible.
Sure.
And so reviewing those emergency checklists, there are gear malfunction types of checklists. And if you worried about a gear problem on a certain side, it talked about landing. If you had a gear problem on the right side, it talked about landing on the left side of the runway. So we're getting small tidbits of information like, oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
why don't we land on the left side of the runway? Because we got a right side issue.
Yep.
We want to stay on the runway.
And that asymmetrical drag is going to take you to the other side of the runway anyways.
Potentially, yeah. Discussions with the fire department. Interestingly enough, the Air Force and my whole entire life, we always thought, hey, you got everything. Resources are abundant. And so we called the fire department and said, hey, go foam the runway. And they said, we can foam the runway, but then if you're on fire, we can't put you out if you're on fire. You pick.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that? I've never heard that before, and I've been in aviation for 33 years.
Didn't have enough resource. It was one or the other, which really frustrated me.
Oh, so that's the same foam that they use.
Put you out if you're on fire.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So I had to make an incredible decision, and frustrated, probably a couple of expletives too. But of course, you're going to opt to put me out if I'm on fire, because if the foam doesn't work and you're still burning, you got a problem.
Sure.
So the choice was to put us out if we're on fire. This was a point in time where we actually had parachutes on our airplane.
That was going to be my next question. At what point were you thinking about maybe this is a bailout situation?
Had the conversation. I had pilot, co-pilot, actually 3 pilots as I described, 1 load master, and a crew chief. I had 5 on board. Said, does anybody want to jump? And there was a lot of discussion here and there, whoa, ho, and humming, and the old mantra of the captain is the last guy on the ship, so that was me. I was going to be the guy to take it in, but we offered up the rest to jump. And at the end of the day, after about 5 to 10 minute discussion, everyone said, no, we want to ride this thing in. We don't want to jump. Another tidbit of information that's very interesting to that conversation. So now it's castering. We're coming in. It's time to go land. We're out in the far east in a non-congested area of Colorado Springs. We're setting up a very long left base to come into land to the south into Colorado Springs. We've ran all the appropriate checklists we think we can run. The plan is to do assault speed, which is the 100 flaps slowest airspeed I could possibly land. It's landing on the left side of the runway because the drag, as you talked about, the drag and the asymmetry is going to make us go right, and we want to stay on the runway as much as possible. We've chosen to put us out if we're on fire because you don't got any foam, right? And so we're on final. We're ready to rock. Checklists are run. Talking about earlier how I had these emotions of sheer terror to little bits of downtime, to little bits of numbness, to a little bit times of boredom in a situation, but now it's go time. So we're on base, we're getting ready to land, checklists are run, helmets are on, gloves are on, we are PPD out to the max, ready for a potential aircraft that's going to burn. All the emergency escape hatches are open. And at this point in time, Lockheed Martin calls us on the phone and says, hey, do you guys remember the Minneapolis gear issue that happened a couple years ago? And being an aviation safety minor in college and really interested in aviation, I followed aviation all through my career. Minneapolis Guard had an issue where their gear wasn't quite down and locked, and when they landed their aircraft, it collapsed a little bit.
It collapsed the gear, yeah, the gear got sucked back in.
Yeah, and that right prop, that number 4 prop, dinged and caught the airplane on fire.
Yep.
So Lockheed Martin says, do you remember the Minneapolis incident with the gear? And I said, oh crap, we're bagging number 4 too, aren't we? Here we go. And they're like, yep.
What does bagging mean for the audience out there?
Yes.
'Cause they're like, what are you going to bag an engine for?
Bag it full of groceries. Yeah, shut down number 4.
Okay. And the reason being is because when that wing comes down, that prop is going to hit the ground and cause bigger issues.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And precedent has proven it catches your airplane on fire.
Yep.
So I have a severely damaged aircraft structurally, and now Lockheed Martin tells me I have to turn off an engine. Here we go. Feather number 4. 5-mile base, feather number 4, run our appropriate checklist there. Talked about the mixture of emotions. At this point in time, I think my brothers in the tower, Danny Santora in the tower, folks were like, you got this, bro, prayers for you. I said, Jesus, you got this. And initially, sheer terror, uncontrollable shaking, this and that, to 5-mile base, 0 fear. Air Force training is taking over, adrenaline's flowing, not an ounce of fear. Let's go execute. Turn base to final, line up, assault speeds, 100% flaps, as slow as we possibly can. Crosswind from this direction, which is a blessing because our gear is hanging down where my thumb's at. We bring it into land.
So essentially, the wind would counteract your turn into that side.
Potentially.
Potentially, yeah.
But also, in the video of the landing, which is amazing because the Ocean's 12 was able to capture the video of the landing, which we'd be happy to share with folks if they want to see it. I was able to flare that aircraft, and I think the crosswinds assisted in tucking my thumb, which is the dangling gear, under my airplane. And I'm convinced that's what gave me symmetry down the runway and potentially even saved our life because we rode that thing pretty straight down the runway. It's kind of funny, but we joked that I felt like Snoop Dogg in an Impala with hydros because the airplane was just, it was doing the weirdest thing. And I'm convinced I was bouncing off that tire. And at some point in time, the most acrid burning smell of your life started coming around. You could smell it. Loadmaster basically comes on board and says, we're on fire, we're on fire. Obviously, that was the reaction to just a massive amount of smoke coming into all the emergency escape hatches that were open.
Yeah, and not to mention, those wheel hubs are made out of magnesium.
Yeah.
That will catch on fire nice and easy.
Absolutely. Smoke and metal was just an acrid smell like nobody's business.
The rubber smell, too.
Right. And when I heard that, we're on fire, I could smell it. I just slammed on the brakes as much as I could. We got it to a stop. Emergency egress, shut off the 3 remaining engines. Unstrap. I remember getting out and we ran and the crew entrance door opened. Airplane didn't twist, crew entrance door opened. For my aviation friends, we talk about this sometimes, but sometimes your biggest challenge in an accident is getting run over by a fire truck.
Yes.
And we talked about that. And so we egress, but head on a swivel, making sure we knew where we're at. We get out to the grass. Fire trucks engage, and when we know we're safe, it's the biggest bro hugs you've ever had in your entire life.
I bet that bourbon went down nice and smooth that night, didn't it?
It's funny you say that because you're guilty until proven innocent. So after that, or quickly sequenced, I picked up my phone. I called my wife and said, I'm okay.
Good.
That's all I can say is I'm okay.
Now, I'm assuming that during this process, everybody probably picked up their phone and called home or at least texted home.
They did, and it was on every major news outlet.
Holy crap.
Within an hour. It was on Fox News
Seriously?
in an hour. Yeah.
How?
The scanners got it. The local scanners got it, and it made pretty national media
Freaking
attention.
real.
So the call worked out great. You know, my
Sure.
wife, yeah, you know. And then, not a knock on Air Force policy and procedure, but you're guilty until proven innocent a little bit.
Yep.
And so it's off to the medical unit, and they took 15 vials of blood and urine. And so, yeah, the bourbon or the IPAs went down even more after basically giving blood.
Yeah.
But,
Yep. Cheap drunk. Can I buy a drink?
yep, absolutely. So, but yeah, an amazing experience to have survived. There's lots of things that could have gone way worse, but there's small tidbits of things that made us survive an absolutely amazing situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, one thing that people don't realize, especially young folks, you know, they'll go out, fly these missions, and you know, even if you're a ground guy, but people don't realize that when there's an incident, there's a lot of investigation work afterward.
Yeah.
And people don't understand, like, what goes on. Like, my son was on a trip to San Diego.
Yeah.
And his very, very first trip as a loadmaster on the C-130, where there was a fatality on board.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
And the amount of crap that they had to deal with, all because of it, which rightfully so, they need to find out where the chain was broken.
Right.
So how did that go for you guys? I mean, it's obvious that there was an issue with the maintenance.
So
I guess what I'm asking is, how did the next couple of days go?
that's why I go back to you feel like you're guilty until proven innocent.
Yep.
We gave massive amount of blood and urine, and we were grounded immediately. Our Ocean's 12 brothers had to fly us home to Channel Islands. That aircraft was on the runway at Colorado Springs for about a week because they had no idea how to get that airplane off the runway. And so,
Oh, no kid.
massive logistical challenge of how do we get this airplane off the runway using material handling equipment, forklifts, and this and that without further damaging it, right?
Sure.
Leadership at the time is, you know, hey, here's the deal, great job, you know, but we got to see what's going on under investigation. So it's just a really gray, weird feeling, and it wasn't a feeling that I enjoyed at all.
No, exactly. Because they go as far back as, what did you do the night before?
100%, yeah.
Completely not even your fault.
Right.
But it's like, what did you do the night before? How much have you had to drink the night before?
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, I know that the piece of steel broke, but how many beers did you have?
Right. And back to the J model, it was so technologically advanced, it can tell you every parameter that it's incurred, you know. And so I'm sitting there second guessing myself, like, did the LT land it too hard? You know, did I screw up? And so it was a challenging situation for a while. But the investigation did its process. Initially, they thought it was going to be a Class A mishap. In the United States Air Force at the time,
Now,
Class A
if-
mishap's over 1 million, but now it's...
And that's what I was about to ask you.
Yeah.
Explain what a Class A mishap is.
Yeah, so Class A, at the time, I think it was about 1 million, or if a fatality occurs, it's called a Class A mishap.
Right.
And then B lowers the expense to the damage, and C, and then eventually there's D. Those parameters have changed, and I think they're at 2.5 million for Class A now. So the gist is, the more it costs or a fatality occurs, it's a Class A mishap. And they're
Sure.
like, this is a Class A mishap. This is a Class A mishap. Investigation does its path, goes through its course, and as I mentioned earlier, that gear falling underneath our aircraft, which I'm convinced with the crosswind and the way we landed it, not only saved our life, but it saved that aircraft tremendously.
Really?
And so the investigation came out. The card said no hard landing within normal landing parameters. Thank God. And it also said that one of the findings was that the strut, just like a strut on a car, land nut is what they call it. Think about it of just a nut.
Okay.
And a depot level maintainer cross-threaded that gland nut.
Oh.
And after so many landings, it catastrophically failed. And Ocean's 11 was the lucky guy. That was me.
So this airplane, this stretched J model from Channel Islands,
Right.
Where's it at now?
Still flying at Channel Lines, last I heard.
Still flying.
Yeah.
Yep.
Back to Class A, Class B, Class C. It was $171,000 in damage, which is
That's nothing.
pixie dust.
Yeah, in the
crashing an
aviation world,
aircraft.
that's nothing. That's
That gear tucking underneath the aircraft and the metal of the strut and the rubber took the brunt of that damage is
So-
fascinating.
the hub didn't do any rib damage underneath the
No.
on the belly.
Not that I'm tracking, but I
Wow.
can certainly ask my crew chief that one. But yeah, that's nothing. 171 is all the damage it cost.
All right, so you got through the investigation,
Yep.
and you were able to breathe easily.
Right.
You kept with it. How did the rest of the crew do?
There were some challenges. There was a crew member that did have some challenges in with regard to, like I talked about, the fear and this and that, and so we had to help him out. We had to strap him in a seat and calm him down and let him sit down for a little bit. And I think we all have our own natural reactions as to a traumatic event. I mean, at the end of the
Yeah.
day,
Absolutely.
we all thought we could potentially die in this situation, and we very well could have. So when you're
Well,
facing
that's-
death
that-
like that, it's
You're
it's
looking
legit.
you're looking at death straight in the
Right.
face.
Yeah, right. But but we all came together. The crew did good to great, coming together. Back to just your training. It's amazing that how critical the training is and how you revert to your training in the most terrifying situations ever is fascinating.
Which is the whole reason why you train, and train. You
Yep.
train like you fight, and then you fight like you train.
Yep.
And the whole theory behind that is when you're in a pickle like what you've been in,
Right.
it's more second nature versus trying to figure shit out.
Absolutely.
That's an amazing story. I love it. And I never got to hear the whole story from you.
Yeah.
And this is awesome that you're actually here to tell that story. It's a blessing. I mean, thank
Yeah.
you.
Absolutely. Thank
So
you.
now you got through that hurdle,
Right.
and you continue with your flying career.
Yeah.
Did that make you think that, no, I'm done flying?
Little bit of challenges initially. There's certainly some things that to this day, I mentioned earlier how I was bulletproof. I was complacent, and I was absolutely humbled, and maybe God humbled me that day. And as an aviator, that's the worst place you could ever get.
Absolutely.
So don't ever let yourself get there.
That's typically the first thing that'll kill you is being complacent.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think tremendous lesson learned. Respect the craft. It's a dangerous one. Operated effectively, it can be safe. But from that day forward, I always had an absolute humble respect for flying airplanes. Every takeoff since then has been like, you never know, this could be the day, but I love it so much, this is what we do. Light the fires.
You know that every takeoff is an option,
Yeah,
but every landing is mandatory.
that's it. Earlier mentioned how you take certain forks in the road and some are bad and some you hit a rock bottom, but then you find out it's a blessing in disguise. And getting a 2.0 in junior college, found my path to aviation and my absolute dream, and then making it back to the top, and then crash landing an aircraft and wondering if it's all over. And then you just learn from these sine waves in your life, and been absolutely blessed to have a different perspective than a lot of people, and it's given me a passion to care for people. Air Force motto: integrity first, service before self, and excellence is all we do. You live that every single day. The mantra of the weapons school is humble, approachable, credible. You have to live that every day. And experiencing these things, the traumas in being shot at, rocket attacked, crashing an airplane, you live that motto, you live these mantras of the weapons school, and been super blessed to make it up to become a wing commander. I'm not the kind of guy that's like, I want to be a wing commander. I wanted to go work at the Advanced Airlift Tactics Training Center, and I wanted to retire there because advanced tactics was my passion. But God continued to ask me to serve, put the service before myself, and the people apparently wanted me to lead, so I made it to wing commander. And so I would just like to say that anything's possible with anybody in this world. I don't care where you come from, what situation you have. Sure, there's trials and tribulations, but you can do anything you put your mind to. You ask what the future is. I think it's just a passion to continue to serve. At some point in time, this chapter is going to end, and I'd love to continue to serve folks, help folks. What you're doing here with this podcast is really, really important. We've all endured a certain trauma of some kind, and you mentioned earlier that, is it an imposter syndrome? The ground force guys endured so much more, and they have.
They have.
But all of us have different perspectives of certain things and certain traumas we've endured, right?
Yes.
And so the future for me is wanting to continue to help a warfighter in a certain capacity, whether it's a job in the defense industry or a contract thing, and continue to help warfighters get the next thing to help them survive and operate in contested environments, but also maybe continue to help in things that you're doing here. It's sad to say that the 22 number,
Yeah,
that's what you hear.
The
right?
22 veterans a day, and that's 22 veterans a day too many. One a day is too many.
One a day.
And from what I remember, you guys just lost one.
We did, sadly. Yeah, Master Sergeant Jason Woolhoyt, rest his soul.
Bless his soul.
Yeah. I would just tell folks that continue to find a purpose in your life. I don't think we'll ever sadly get it to zero, but we can all come together and help normalize a certain situation. And I'm a commander, I'm a wing commander, I'm an Air Force colonel, and I'll tell you that I think physical fitness and mental fitness is just as important.
Absolutely.
I work on my mental fitness often. We've endured trauma. And if you hold it in, it's going a bad way really, really fast.
That is exactly the point. And a lot of times, just hearing, like me crying out for help, for example, or not me, but you know what I'm saying, just hearing that cry for help and letting somebody express themselves is all it takes. I mean, that's just the small part of it. And being able to let it out and talk about it.
Yeah.
People just need to be heard.
Right.
People just need to know that they're not alone in some of these situations.
Right.
I think that'll go a long way once people understand that you're not alone.
100% agree. And I also think that a lot of us are so compartmentalized that we don't even acknowledge what's deep inside. We don't know what's there until you make an attempt to work on some of that mental fitness. Sometimes you got to peel back the onion and you go, oh man, there's stuff in there that I didn't even know about that's been affecting me. It's really, really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Well, Scooter, it's been a pleasure, man. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me, man.
Scooter's journey from a kid in the California desert to an Air National Guard wing commander is a remarkable story on its own. But the moment that forever changed his perspective on leadership and aviation came during a training mission in Colorado. One of the themes you'll hear throughout Silent Valor is that survival isn't usually about one heroic decision. It's about years of preparation, trusting the people around you, and staying disciplined when everything falls apart. Scooter's story is a powerful reminder that even the most experienced professionals are only one unexpected moment away from the ultimate test. The difference is how they respond. Scooter, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for your leadership and your service. And lastly, thanks for watching Silent Valor. If the stories matter to you, please subscribe, leave us a review, and share the podcast with someone who would appreciate hearing the remarkable experiences of the men and women that served our country. We'll see you next time. So there's another amazing story right here with Scooter. Like we stated before, it could have been a whole lot worse. It just turned out that it turned out very, very good. And I think it's got everything to do with the pilot's skills. The entire crew, not just the pilot, but the whole crew worked together.
Even as experienced as he was when it first happened, his reaction wasn't the stereotypical cool, calm, collected pilot. It was more like, oh shit.
Yep. Pilots are human beings too, yeah. And when you get news like that, it just scares the ever living crap out of you, just like everybody else. And it's all on how you act after that.
I watched it before you were able to incorporate the pictures of what happened, and my first reaction. And I hate to keep bringing up kind of ideas of television, things from television, but my first reaction was, I've watched planes land without their landing gear, and normally it'll be like a newscopter in Los Angeles showing a plane landing at LAX, and everybody always walks away. And then I look at the picture of where that landing gear was, and I'm not a pilot, but I've flown a lot, and I know that I would not want to be anywhere near landing with that gear where it was. And so that even made it more chilling to me, having seen the pictures after having just listened to his story.
Chilling is probably the right answer for that, because you're looking into the unknown. All right, so you got functioning gear on the left-hand side and plus your nose gear, and you have no idea what's going to happen on the right-hand side. And you got what's called, asymmetrics, which, with all the drag on the right-hand side caused by that gear dragging, or if the wheel it continues to be canted or whatnot, is going to pull the nose to the right and possibly off that runway. And just the way that he wound up sitting on that wheel was just perfect.
Well, and then and right toward the end, and this, you couldn't get any more cinematic, they get the communication from Lockheed about, hey, did you remember what happened to that one C-130 where the engine, caught on fire?
That was a Minneapolis Air National Guard C-130, mm-hmm. And the right-hand gear collapsed. So if you want to look at that video, just get on YouTube and put in Minneapolis C-130 landing gear crash.
Okay.
Now, Scooter did bring up some terminology that need to explain a little bit, but bags of gas. What that means is how much fuel you've got in your tanks. A full bag means you got a full load of fuel. On the C-130, it's 62,000 pounds of gas. But bags of gas is just how much fuel you've got. And then, ironically enough, he talked about bagging an engine. And all that means is shutting down that engine at some point. So you bag the engine.
I had one other C-130 question for you, that because he described that he was flying on the next generation C-130, and he said it did not require a flight engineer.
That is correct.
So what's the? I mean, I understand the transition from the 727s and 740s. The different commercial planes that went from requiring a flight engineer to going out of service in many cases. What's the story on the C-130 with that?
So back when the J model came online, it only had a crew complement of 3, so a pilot, co-pilot, and loadmaster. And typically they'll fly with 2 loadmasters. But it did away with the navigator, and it did away with the flight engineer. Today, with the modern day computer technology that we have, a lot of those duties are actually replaced with computers.
So the planes that you were flying on, because you retired as a flight engineer, so these were much older aircraft that have been in service for, I guess, a really long time. Is that the way to think about it, or?
The C-130s that I retired on were 90 and 91 models, and they did away with the flight engineers back when the J model came up online, which would have been, I'd have to take a look. I can't remember, but I think late 90s, early 2000s. So when all that technology just started coming up.
Yeah, fantastic.
But it's like the airliners nowadays, like the 747, 100, the 200, 300 all had flight engineers. But when the 747, 400 came up online, no flight engineer.
Yeah. Saved money for the airlines, right?
Yep, it's one less person you got to pay.
Having listened to Scooter, I kind of wish they would have invested that money in additional foaming technology so they could have both foamed the runway and put out the fire, but I guess you can't have everything, right?
It baffles me knowing that they only had enough foam for either the runway or the airplane.
Yeah.
I never knew that was a thing. Just like he was saying, it sounded like that was an abundant item that they would have on base, but apparently not.
I guess they just assumed that, Air Force pilots don't crash. Anyway, with before opening up that can of worms, what do we got coming up next with episode 4?
Oh, episode 4. So we've got Will Aiken, sheriff of Clay County.
We've teased, we've talked about this on the 2 previous. We've mentioned
Yes.
it. I am really, really excited.
It's going to be a long episode. It's going to most likely be broken down into part 1, part 2, maybe even part 3. Just what this guy has endured when he was a teenager, and then what he has become now. And I'm not to give a lot away.
Well, this guy, I mean, there's not a whole lot I can say without giving it away, because this guy's story is absolutely amazing.
With that being said, a couple shout outs, once again to the Shelby Bee Farm.
Shelby, now now you have to understand, the Shelby Bee Farm has somewhere between 1 and 1.5 hives this year. We had a couple hives not make the winter, and the Shelby Bee Farm is actually a business that does not actually exist, but we have a logo, and the logo is Shell-Bees. Get it? My last name is Shelby. Shell Bees, and we have T-shirts and we have cups, and we essentially just give our honey away to friends whenever our bees are kind enough to create honey for us. But thank you for the shout out.
Not a problem. And also shout out to Call Brewing Company for letting us use the facilities, and bomberpatches.com. Look them up. Oh yeah. Brady, you got anything?
Not really. I'm just excited for episode 5. It tells the story of how one of your beers came about, and I think the audience is going to be really curious to hear this one. Without giving too much away, very close to having it to its final runtime. It's the story of Mary and Brian and their military history and what led it from, tragedy happening all the way up to how we honor the memory of our loved ones. And just so happened that Brian's call sign ended up on one of the Call Brewing beers, and this is the story of how it happened from beginning to end.
All right, we got a lot coming up. That's exciting.
Stay tuned for more, and thank you for watching. If you or someone you love is struggling, please don't carry that burden alone. Reach out, talk to someone. Help is available. And asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness.